Everybody, Bandit here. Welcome back to the Bandit Flight Simmer channel. Today we're back in the Diamond DA62 for the next leg of our Around the World series. And we're in Adak, Alaska, and today we're going to be continuing up the Aleutian Islands to the mainland of Alaska. And I'll talk about our plan when we get there in a couple minutes. For those of you who haven't joined me, welcome to the channel. If you're new to the channel, just take a few minutes or a few seconds and hit the subscribe button, sign up for notifications, and then you'll see videos like this and future videos that I put out, including some tutorial videos and our Around the World series in the Diamond DA62. Okay, for today's trip, we are going to be heading up the Aleutian Islands to the mainland of Alaska. I followed the IFR flight plan up to Homer, Alaska, which is just southeast of Anchorage, southwest of Anchorage, and we're actually going to be going to this little airport here, Nanwalak, which is just a small gravel strip on the coast. But there's no instrument approaches there, so we need to file to the nearest airport with an instrument approach, which would be Homer. Right now it's just some broken overcast cloud at about 5,000, so hopefully we can just go down to the lowest altitude possible and break out and just head into Nalawak here, Nalawalak, and if not, we'll have to continue to shoot the approach into Homer and then backtrack. So that's one way to get to an airport without an instrument approach when you need to fly IFR to get there. So that's the plan today. The weather is not horrible in this area, but it may prevent us from getting down low enough to break off to do the visual approach into Nalawak. Either way, we'll do an instrument approach if we have to, and then backtrack and do the visual approach. It's a small gravel strip, and we're going to pretend that we're heading here because we have a friend here who said we could stay overnight. They have a small, like 1,500-foot gravel strip on the coastline here, and so now we're going to put the diamond through its paces by coming into a dirt gravel strip and very short runway, so the diamond is capable of that, so we're going to give it a go. Weather en route be about 5.5 hour flight, and we're going to climb up to 19,000 feet just to take advantage of the winds. So without further ado, let's get things loaded and get up on our way. Well, I actually have the flight plan already loaded. I'll just get the airplane fired up and we'll get up on our way. So let's turn on the battery. I hate it when your mouse cursors over something like that and activates something when you didn't want to. So battery, we'll get the engine masters on. We'll prime our fuel pumps. Get our nav light on. Okay, fuel pumps are primed. Clear to the right, clear to the left, and we'll start the right engine. Looks good. T's and P's are coming up nicely. Start the left engine. And a good start. Temperatures and pressures are coming up there nicely. We'll get our avionics master on. Put our flaps to takeoff. Get our altimeter 2988 set. My flight plan's already loaded in the system. We'll just range out and see how it looks. So we have the departure, which takes us out above this high terrain and gets us en route to the mainland there. So that looks good. Let's set up our initial altitude up to 9,000 feet for the departure. We're off of runway 23. The altimeter is set. And I think everything looks good. We can put on our taxi light and taxi out for takeoff. So we'll taxi out for runway 23. We're going to do a midsection takeoff. It's almost 8,000 foot runway, so we should have about at least 3,500 feet available for takeoff, which is more than we need for the conditions today. And then we'll get up and on our way. Save us a little bit of back taxi time. Okay, so we're just going to taxi to the right here and follow that taxiway down to the runway. So park and brake off. So this flight will put us back on the mainland in North America, and from here should be an easy run back to our starting point. And I don't know why that taxi light's in the middle of the taxiway, but some of the anomalies we have in the sim. You can see we're on the taxi. You can barely see we're on the taxi line there, but for some reason, and the taxi lights are on either side, but we have a couple that are in the middle here. Okay, so our trims are set for takeoff. We'll get our altimeter on, or sorry, we get our transponder on. And there we go. Get our pitot heat on. Fuel pumps on. Get our landing light, taxi light off, strobe light on. Flaps are set for takeoff. Everything looks pretty good. Runway heading is 234. I'll put that in case we need it. And it's clear to the right. Clear to the left. I think everything is good for departure here. So we'll go full power. Temperatures and pressures are good. Speed's alive. There's 80 knots. Rotate. Positive rate. Gears up. The aircraft accelerate. And we're through 400 feet, autopilot's on, flight level change, set 100 knots, get our flaps up, and we will set our climb power of 95%. So gear is up, flaps are up, climb power is set, temperatures and pressures are all looking good. We'll activate nav. And we're going to get off on our nav track, and we're up to 9,000 feet. So it looks good. We'll get up above this cloud, and then we'll get around this high terrain to the right. And then we'll climb up to our cruise altitude. I'm just going to double check on the flight plan. It was flight level 170, or 17,000 feet. I guess we're in North America now. Stop outside and have a look at the scenery as we depart from Adak here. Fairly good sized island in the middle of the Aleutian Islands here. Quite a nice harbor they have over here too. Okay, looks pretty good so far, weather-wise. So I'm going to check in with you when we get to the top of climb, and then we'll see how things look for our gas and how the ground speed looks, everything for en route today. So that'll be in a few minutes, up to 17,000 feet. So I'll see you when we level off at cruise. Okay, we're just coming up on our cruise altitude. And we're going to initially, the flight plan was at 17,000 feet. We're still on the altimeter setting because we're in North America and the transition level is 18,000 feet. So we level off here, we'll accelerate and we'll set our cruise power, and the flight plan was based on a 75% cruise. So I'll let it accelerate a little bit here. And I'll just start bringing the power back. to 75%. Okay, there's 75% on our power. Check our temperatures and pressures are all looking good. Lights are good. Accelerating, checking the winds. We're supposed to have at least a 30 knot tailwind, so that looks pretty good. See what our true airspeed ends up being and our ground speed. Now if we go down to our GPS here and we check our engine instruments, and if we go to the lean page, we see right now we've got 81 gallons remaining and an endurance of 5.5 hours and 1160 miles, and we're going to be 4.5 hours and we're just under 950 miles. So that gives us about an extra hour's worth of fuel. We have to keep in mind though that we might have to backtrack a little bit to our destination, but that's more than enough fuel for that because that'll just be VFR maneuver. So right now at this power setting, everything jives with what we planned for the flight, time-wise and fuel-wise. So I think we'll stick with that. The ground speed is settling out pretty nicely. We got 180 knots true and a ground speed of 217. So that's pretty much perfect for this flight. Now, because in real life we would have our oxygen on, so this is where your oxygen is. So once you go above 12.5, usually 12,000 feet, you would put on your oxygen, supplemental oxygen. It's just a little device you put under your nostrils to breathe in air, and then you pull out this knob to activate your oxygen tank, and then you just monitor your oxygen pressure throughout the flight. And we'd probably be in an immersion suit too, since we're in a long flight over open water. Well, there's little islands along the way, but most of them are uninhabited and wouldn't be a very good place to force land. So if we had an issue, we'd have to probably go in the water. Okay, so I think everything looks pretty good for our cruise initially. So now it's just weather-wise looks pretty good. Now it's just maintaining this, and we'll take a look again at about halfway, and then we'll start talking about what our plan is going to be for when we get to Homer, Alaska, and then to our final destination of Nalnawak. I'll have to check the pronunciation of that, but should be a fun little transition. We'll do the visual approach in there, and it's a gravel strip, nice short runway, challenging, and we'll take a look at the numbers for calculating that with the DA62 and the flight manual as well. Okay, so I'll check in again with you halfway, and we'll go over some of those items. See you in a little bit. Hey everyone, we're back at cruise here. We're just coming to beam Unimak Island, and we're almost up to the mainland towards the end of the chain of the Aleutian Islands there. Anyway, let's hop inside and see how things are looking. Got 2 hours 42 minutes left to go, 500 miles, so we're just short of halfway. Time to start transferring our fuel. So we'll put our fuel transfer pumps on there, and you see left, right aux pumps are on. Okay, so we'll let that transfer. Things are looking pretty good. You see what I mean? The mainland comes down to about here, and then the island chains start about here. So this is about the last main island, and then after that, you're kind of on the mainland boot of Alaska there. And we're going to continue on past there. Just take a look at our fuel situation. We lost our tailwind component. We're down to a ground speed of 188 knots. We have 47 gallons remaining, 3.2 hours. So we have about an extra 40 minutes worth of fuel based on this ground speed. The winds do pick up a little bit as we get further, so it should be pretty good. And the latest weather in Homer, which is where we might have to go to shoot our approach, shows right now overcast 4,700 feet, 4 degrees, and light winds out of the east. Okay, so that's how things are looking right now. So once the fuel transfer is done, then we'll talk about our plan for going into our destination. And also there's a few new features on the DA62 mod here that I'll go over as well, related to gear warnings and stuff like that, and we can maybe take a look at those features when we shoot the approach into our destination today. So when the fuel transfer is complete, I'll come back and we'll go through our planned arrival. So I'll see you there in a few minutes, or no more than a few minutes, probably in about an hour. Hey everybody, we're back here at 17,000 feet, cruising along, and weather's pretty much the same. It's starting to, the cloud's starting to break up a little bit. So let's go over what our plan is going to be to get into our destination, which is called Nanwalek. And I'll just go over the route here, how we're going to get in there. So right now we're going to be coming in on this airway, and what I'm going to do is descend down to the lowest altitude on this portion of the airway from Worry up to Malti is 9,000 feet. So I'm going to just plan to descend to Malti at 9,000 feet. So let's hop in the cockpit here and take a look at our flight plan. So there's Malti right there on our airway coming in. And if I look at the flight plan and bring it up, and so I would want to be by Malti at 9,000 feet, but there's no way for me to put that in to give myself a VNAV path. But one way to alleviate that is I will just add an approach in to Homer, even though we're probably not going to go there. First of all, let's check out the latest weather at Homer, just to see what the weather is like. And if we go down to, there's our destination Homer, and the winds are 1805, 10 miles, so it's starting to, it's still overcast, 5,005 degrees. So if we can get down to 4,000, which is the next segment of our airway, so after Mallet we can continue down to 4,000. As soon as we break clear of the cloud, we can make a right turn and go direct to Nanwalek, as opposed to going all the way to Homer, shooting an approach and coming back. So hopefully that's how the plan's going to work out. So as soon as we go by Mullet, I'll set Mullet at 9,000. As soon as we go by there, we'll continue to descend down to 4,000, and then hopefully we'll break clear of the cloud and then go visually, cancel IFR and go visually into our destination. Now, so I'll just add an approach, and I'll just add in a visual approach. So we'll put in the visual approach runway 22, and we'll just do it by a straight in. It doesn't matter. We're not going to use any of this, so I don't need any minimums, and I just load it. And now, all of a sudden, you'll see I have altitudes associated with all the waypoints prior to that. So now for Mallet, it's planning to cross there at 17,000 feet because it thinks we're going to go all the way to Homer. But I want it to cross, Malti at 9,000 feet. So if I just cursor up to Malti, and then I just now change that to 9,000 feet, and now it's amended, and now you see our V path is based on Malti at 9,000 feet, so it gives us a top of descent, and that's in 48 minutes to hit Malti at 9,000 feet. And there's our top of descent on our segment right there. So now we can hit Malti at 9,000 feet, and then once we go by Malti, we can continue down to 4,000 feet. So I'll just, it doesn't matter, don't need to put in, I just wanted a reference for Malti. And then I'll just continue down, idle descent down to 4,000 feet, and as soon as we break clear, we'll make our turn from our track over to Nanwalek for our destination. And I'll just change that as my destination and load in a visual approach there. So that's the plan on how we're going to get in there. I think that'll work out. So we have our top of descent now. We have our altitude set from Malti, and then from there we'll continue down, get visual hopefully, and and then we'll break it off for our destination. If not, we'll have to continue on to Homer because we can't really go any lower than the 4,000 feet that's on that airway for now. So we'll deal with that when we get down to 4,000 feet. But I think we have a pretty good odds of being able to make this work. So anyway, I'll check in with you when we start our descent in about 45 minutes or so, and then we will see how this works out. Okay, we're a few minutes back from the top of descent, and I'm going to put 9,000 feet in our altitude selector here and select VNAV, but we do have something going on with the right-hand engine, so I'm going to have to take a look. It's been slowly losing power. So we'll take a look at that here, but let's plan our descent. So I'm going to select 9,000 feet and engage VNAV. And VPath is armed. So this engine has been, for the last hour or so, has been slowly losing power. And I don't see any reason. I got the throttles matched. If you see, they're matched here. If I go full power on both engines, so we get 78% on the left engine, which is about normal for this altitude because we're not getting maximum power at this altitude. But we're only getting 59% on the right engine. Temperatures and pressures are all looking fairly good. Fuel temperature is a little bit colder, but it's still in the green. And we're burning more fuel on the left engine because it's getting less power possibly. If I look at the other system information, everything else looks in the green. Check our fuel status. We still have a range of 220 miles. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that in case we have a problem with that engine. Right now I'm going to operate it at reduced power, and we'll see, maybe it's an altitude thing. I think I'll put the boost pumps on too, just to make sure, to help it out, but it doesn't seem to do anything. Also, if I switch the ECUs, electronic control units for the engines, there's a put it on A or B, it doesn't seem to do anything either, so I'll put it back in auto. Anyway, the descent path has started coming up. We'll start at a descent, and I'll keep the speed up. Probably set about 70, well, at least on the good engine, I'll set about 70% power. It's pretty smooth. I don't want to delay getting to our destination there. Okay, so I'll bring the power back a little bit, start a descent. So I'll set 70%. And I'll keep the other engine. I just matched the throttles. And the power never even changed the whole way I moved that throttle back. So we have some kind of power problem on this aircraft. And I didn't simulate any failures for this, so I'm not sure what's causing this. I'll update the altimeter, 2953. And yeah, so let's see how things look. We get the mallet, and hopefully we'll continue down to 4,000 feet and get clear of the cloud, which looks like it shouldn't be a problem. I just see, looking out the window there, especially over at this direction here, looks like once we get below that cloud, it should be pretty good. And that's just an upper cloud layer here. Okay, so I'll check in with you as we get closer to mallet, and we'll continue that descent and keep an eye on this engine as we're coming in. Okay, we're just coming up to 9,000 feet for a multi. The power isn't really changing too much on this engine. It's kind of starting to fluctuate a bit now. Maybe gotta keep a close eye on that. So after multi, we'll continue down to 4,000, and based on the cloud I see outside, we're definitely going to break clear of that. So I'll continue that descent down to 4,000 feet. So we're just coming over multi now, and what I'll do is I'll select 4,000, and I'll stay on this track, and I'll just go vertical speed, 1,000 feet per minute. And we'll continue that descent down, and now we need to go to our flight plan and start changing some things up because we're not going to continue on. So call up our flight plan here. And we will first of all get rid of the visual approach here. And next thing we will get rid of our destination. We'll just check the weather. Winds are calm, 10 miles, 7,000 broken, 4 degrees, 2955. And we got the latest altimeter 2953, so that's pretty close. So we'll clear this out. Whoop. Just go back to our flight plan page here. And we'll remove that. And now we'll go in and add our new destination, which is Kilo Echo Bravo. And that's Nanwalek. And we'll just enter that for now. So we're still on our track to the HOM VOR, and we can see KEB. So let's load up the procedure for KEB. And there's no approaches for here, but we can still load up a visual approach. And we're going to use the visual approach for runway 1 because it comes in over the water as opposed to high terrain on the other side. So we'll load up a visual approach for runway 1. We'll just load it in, and the winds are calm there, and we don't need any minimums. And I'm going to activate that approach. And now we go back, and we can see we're now on a right turn, direct for the straight in for runway 1. Okay, we're on our path, so I'm going to re-engage VPath. So VNav, and we should pick up our path for that fix now. And so zoom out here. Okay, so that's going to bring us in on final. There is actually there is terrain on both sides here, so we'll see how it looks when we're on final here. It's a short runway. It's about 1,500 feet gravel. So I've through 6,000 feet. We got our landing light on. We got our boost pumps are on. And we are visual now, VMC. Just a few puffy clouds around here, but we can see all the way into the island there. Okay, so we'll continue now inbound, keeping an eye on this engine. I'm going to do a power check, so I'm going to bring the power up full on both engines. This is really strange. We are not even getting full power on the other engine, so something's going on. Our fuel is still good, although we do have more fuel on the right engine than we do on the left engine, probably because the problem started showing up on the right engine first. So we definitely want to keep an eye on these engines. I'm going to bring the power back again. So if we have to go around, we're not going to have full power. So we definitely want to make sure we're not going to miss this. So the airport should be just over here on this bay. Continuing inbound. Going to start bringing the power back and start slowing down. Keep an eye on these engines. So for some reason we are not getting full power, and I do not see any other indications with the engine. The propeller RPMs are good. Everything else, all the T's and P's are in the green. Fuel temperatures are a little bit different, but not that different. And 4,000 feet, I need to set a lower altitude. Actually, I'm just going to hand fly from here, so I will disengage the autopilot, flight director, and here's one of the features of the, if you have the flaps up and you go idle, you're going to get this gear warning. So that's a new feature on the DA62. So we do have a good speed. I'm going to put flaps, and now you're still going to get that warning because we still have the gear up. So we'll continue following this path inbound. The island should be just over there. The airport should just be over there. So just getting back lined up with the runway, and it should just be over that hill to the left there. So speed is good. I'm going to go land flap. Bring the power up a little bit. And I think we're going to have to go over the airport there. You can just see it. We're just coming in over the high terrain, and we're not going to get down. So I'm going to have to level off and come back around the other way. So hopefully I can get enough power. Oh, it looks like we're back to full power now. So whatever the problem was has cleared itself up. So I'm going to level off at 500 feet. And we're going to join a downwind. And the airport is just over there behind us now, so I'll come around visually. And the weather here really wasn't that great, but it is VFR. Okay, so I'll bring the power back, come in and get lined up with the runway. Okay, there's the runway there. So keep the descent going, speed is good. So gear is down, flaps are at approach or landing. Start bringing the speed back. So the high terrain is at that other end there. It's high terrain at both ends, but this is the only way in pretty much for this airport. We got a little gravel strip here. We want to start getting the speed back. And looks good. And touchdown. Get on the brakes. Well, here we go. Yeah, that is definitely a challenging arrival into this airport here. Yeah, my friend did tell me about the high terrain at both ends, but I couldn't remember which end was the better one. I thought it was the other way around, but we came in and we were too high, so we just went around and joined downwind and came in the other way. Luckily the winds were calm, but we made it. So we're here for the night in Nanwalak. I still can't say that name. So thanks for joining me on today's flight. I don't know what was going on with those engines. It could have been a freezing fuel problem or something like that. it was simulated. I'm not sure what was going on, but anyway, we did get eventually full power back. I didn't put anything in the system to generate a failure. So anyway, that was definitely a challenging arrival, but we made it in, got it down. I think leaving here too, hopefully the winds are calm and we can depart this way. If we have to go the other way, we're going to have to definitely make a quick turn out before we hit that terrain. So that should be a challenging day when we leave here. Luckily, there's some jet fuel here. We can load up with gas and head off on the next leg of our journey. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's flight. Definitely made a challenging arrival here with the light snow showers and the weather coming down. That's Alaska for you. Even though Homer, which is only about 20 miles away, is really good weather. So, but it's still a VFR here, not too bad. Okay, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time on the Bandit Flight Simmer channel. Bandit out.